Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the channel. Today's video, which you can probably see I'm recording the same video as my last one, but you probably see this one next, is going to be the next in my actors collection. I think this will be the last actor for a little bit. I think I'll do some actresses after this because I've done a lot of actors in this series so far, so it'd be good to get some of my favourite actresses in there as well. But I thought this is a big omission. This is my favourite actor. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know that this is my favourite actor. And I'm hoping through this video it will become apparent why he's my favourite actor, just through the variety of performances he's given in all of his films, how different he can be, and so on and so forth. And that actor in question is Jake Gyllenhaal, who I'd say has been my favourite actor for probably about 5 years now, probably since I really started to collect in physical media. I've discovered some absolutely fantastic films with him in, and in all of them, he's usually the highlight. He usually brings something different to each of his roles, which to me is a sign of a great actor. For me, he is the male equivalent to Meryl Streep, who again I think is just one of the best out there, gives a great performance in everything she does. So yeah, I've got quite a large collection of his films. There's still some that I'm missing, some that I haven't got. There's some that are streaming only, so obviously don't have them on physical media. Just a big variety of different things that he's got in his catalogue. There's a few, like I say, omissions. I'd love to get October Sky in the collection because I really like that film. I think that's the main one, to be honest, that I haven't got that I would really like. A Bubble Boys one I'm interested in checking out. I believe he did one called Lovely and Amazing, which I'm interested in checking out. And then yeah, most of them are ones that I've got here. Some I've still not seen, but I've got most of them, I'd say now. There's probably again an odd few that I'm missing, but for the most part, I think I've got most of his films that are available on physical media. So we'll get cracking on with one of his best, honestly, and he was very young when he did this, and he just gave a hell of a performance. I know this is one of Stuart's favourites as well. I can see why. I love this film, and I've only seen it the once, so desperately deserving of a rewatch. Of course, it's Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko. Of course, he plays the title character in this film. Yeah, it's just such a unique film that hasn't and will never be replicated. I love when a film like this comes along. He basically in this plays a troubled high school student. He's in therapy. His therapist is played by the brilliant Catherine Ross. He sleepwalks, and he also happens to have an imaginary friend who is a 6 foot tall rabbit whom he names Frank. And this rabbit tells him that the world is going to end in approximately 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. And during this time, he's basically trying to be a normal teenager, fit in with everyone, but he also narrowly avoids being crushed to death by this massive jet engine that falls into his bedroom. And he's basically given these not so great instructions by Frank, and he's also got to try and can keep the world together, shall we say. But it's great. You've got Patrick Swayze in this, who plays completely against type in his role in this film. His sister, Jake's sister's in this, Maggie Gyllenhaal, playing his sister in the film. Got my favourite actress, not Drew Barrymore, in this. To be honest, I put it to the back of my mind. I can't really remember her much in this film, which I suppose is a good thing for me. Mary McDonnell, who I think plays his mum, if I remember rightly. And yeah, it's got a great soundtrack as well. Like I said, it's very off the walls, very out there, very unique, and well worth watching if you haven't seen it. That is Donnie Darko. Next up, I'll show the one disc that I've got, which was in the last Axis video, funnily enough. and it's Moonlight Mile, because obviously Dustin Hoffman also starred in this one alongside Jake Gyllenhaal and Susan Sarandon, and you've got Holly Hunter in there as well, who plays their lawyer. Basically follows a family in the 70s. Basically, Dustin Hoffman and Susan Sarandon's character's daughter has been killed. She was to be married to Jake Gyllenhaal's character, they have basically taken in, and kind of they see them as their son. They see him as their son. He's partners with Dustin Hoffman's character at his business, which is an estate agent. They live in this small town, and it's them kind of trying to come to terms with their grief, figuring out what their life is going to look like going forward. And yeah, it's a really good film set in the 70s. It feels like a 70s set film. It's got a great soundtrack, some great performances by all of our leads in this, and yeah, just a really interesting, solid watch, I'd say. That's Moonlight Mile. Next up, another recent watch for me, which I watched last week, so I talked about it then in my last weekly watches. It is The Good Girl, which Jodie put me onto in one of her most recent videos. And yeah, it's not the film I expected it to be. It's a good idea going into this one completely blind, because you look at the cover, you look at the back, you think this is going to be a straight up rom-com, and it couldn't be further from that. Basically, without going into it too much and spoiling it, it follows Jennifer Aniston's character Justine, who is just your everyday, genuine, down-to-earth person who works in a local grocery kind of store in America. Her life seems to just revolve around her husband, who's a bit of an idiot, alongside his best friend. They're played by John C. Reilly and Tim Blake Nelson, respectively. And yeah, she just seems like her job seems pointless. Her life just seems to be just like going along, nothing particularly special happening to her. And then one day she meets Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who's just started at the same place she works at. And she kind of feels like he's been missing from her life, and he brings something to her life that she finds exciting. But not all is as it seems. Stuff happens, and I'll leave it there. It is funny in parts. It's got that weird, like, early 2000s indie feel to it. Hard to explain. Like Office Space, but not as comedic as that. I mean, it's its own thing. It's written by Mike White, who does the White Lotus. And yeah, it's worth watching if you've not seen it. But like I said, go into it blind, because I think you'll appreciate it more doing that. Next up, we have a classic disaster film. Not the best in quality, but it's a lot of fun, and it's Roland Emmerich's The Day After Tomorrow. Starring Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays his character's son. Basically, a new global warming catastrophe happens, throws the world into some sort of ice age. There's tornadoes, there's a massive tidal wave, everything starts to freeze over. Dennis Quaid plays this climatologist trying to get from Los Angeles to New York, where his son is on a school trip. And he wants to try and basically save his son and find out how they can stop this from happening. You got Ian Holm, who plays, like, I suppose he's like a meteorologist or a Scientologist that works, I think they're in Scotland, in like a little hut in Scotland. You've got Emmy Rossum, who's Jake Gyllenhaal's character's love interest. Celia Ward, who I think plays his mum, if I remember rightly. It's been a while since I've watched it. But these sorts of films are switch off your brain kind of films. Just have a lot of fun with them. They are what they are. And I think this is a pretty decent one if you've not seen it and you like your disaster films. Well worth watching. Again, one that I go back to every so often because it's just an easy watch, nice fun film. Yeah, that's The Day After Tomorrow. Next up's one I've not actually seen yet. It's a fairly recent watch, but quite a biggie in Jake's filmography. It's, of course, Brokeback Mountain, which is considered just an absolutely incredible film. A lot of people wish that this won Best Picture that year instead of Crash. Now, I have seen Crash, and I love Crash, but this has the potential to change my mind on what deserved to win Best Picture more that year. Obviously, you got the great Heath Ledger in this, Michelle Williams, and Hathaway, and it's a love story. I think it's set in the 60s, about two, I suppose, cowboys, young men, who meet and forge this sort of connection. I think. I heard it was quite controversial and provocative back in the day. But I've seen lots of stuff, lots of like little clips in the trailer and all that for it. It looks up my alley, looks like something I'd enjoy. I mean, it's won a lot of awards, so I'm sure I'll give it a go one day and thoroughly enjoy it. That is Brokeback Mountain. Next up is another one, fairly recent. I think I got this some point late last year in a charity shop. And one again I'd seen the trailer for, and it looked right up my street, just not got around to watching it yet. And it's a film called Proof. This one also starring Gwyneth Paltrow, Anthony Hopkins and Hope Davis. Directed by John Madden, who directed Shakespeare in Love. I believe in this, Anthony Hopkins plays a mathematician who's a bit unstable, suffering from mental health conditions. Gwyneth Paltrow plays his daughter, who's basically left to kind of help him as he's fading away from his illness. I think Hope Davis plays her estranged sister, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays one of his former students who wants to try and help him, because I think he's got like this sort of mystery that they've always been trying to solve. So it's sort of like, I think it's like some sort of romantic drama of sorts, but I haven't actually seen it yet, as I said. But got great cast, so I'm sure I'm gonna love this one when I get around to checking it out. That is Proof. Another one that I only watched last week but thoroughly enjoyed was Jarhead, set during the I think it was the Gulf War in the early 90s. Jake Gyllenhaal plays this young man who's part of like a sniper unit who's sent into active duty in the Middle East, and they're basically sent there just to like, if anything, just to protect the oil. I think it was mainly just if anything happened, but nothing basically happened. They were there for I think about 2 years, and they didn't really see much action whilst they were there. But it obviously still plays with their mind, being away from home in this hostile environment. And it's basically about this group and how they cope whilst they are at war in a different country. And yeah, it's really good. Jake Gyllenhaal obviously puts in another excellent performance. Jamie Foxx plays their like battalion leader. He's really good in it. You got Chris Cooper, who plays the big sort of leader. He's not got a huge part in it, but also very good. Peter Sarsgaard, obviously his real life brother-in-law, has a pretty good role in the film. And yeah, music by Thomas Newman, who's my favourite composer, does a really good job at the score in this one as well. And yeah, just a really good modern war film that if you've not seen again, and you like these sorts of modern war films, looking at how their heads probably were going around thinking, mental health, that sort of thing. Yeah, worth checking out for that alone. Next up, one of my favourite Fincher films, and surprisingly the only Fincher film he's done. I'm surprised he's not worked with Fincher more, but that's of course 2007's Zodiac. In this, it's a bit tatty, the slip box, but you know what, I don't mind, that's just how it came. Brilliant film this is, obviously about the Zodiac, the hunt for the Zodiac killer in the 70s in San Francisco. In this one, I believe, if I remember rightly, you've got Robert Downey Jr. and Jake Gyllenhaal, who work at the newspaper, and I think Jake Gyllenhaal kind of plays his protege. Got Mark Ruffalo, who's like the lead cop, Chloe Sevigny, who I think plays Mark Ruffalo's wife in the film. It's been a while since I've watched it. Again, another one I need to watch. And it's just about them trying to catch the Zodiac killer, and how long it takes them. The fact that we never really found out who the Zodiac killer was. But it's just a really well-made film, really clever, some great performances in this one, and yeah, you can't go wrong with a bit of David Fincher. So yeah, underrated Fincher film in my opinion, and one definitely 100% worth checking out if you've not seen it. That is Zodiac. Next up, another one I've actually not seen yet, but again looks right up my street. It's a Jim Sheridan film, and I think he's a terrific director. And it's a film called Brothers, also starring Tobey Maguire and Natalie Portman. I believe Thomas Newman also did the music for this one. And I think this one is basically about, it follows Tobey Maguire's character. He's just gone on his fourth tour of duty. So he's basically got to leave his wife behind, played by Natalie Portman. And one day she gets the news that his helicopter has been shot down in Afghanistan and he has been presumed dead. So this leaves obviously a massive void in the family's life. But his brother, younger brother, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, steps in to try and fill that void. Ends up starting something with Natalie Portman's character. And then Tobey Maguire comes back, and I'll leave it there. Yeah, that's all I know. I've seen the trailer, looks right up my street. I've heard just really good things about this, so I ought to get onto this one pretty soon, because I'm sure this would be one that I'll enjoy. Right, I'm gonna have a break, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Right, I'm back. Sorry for that. Yeah, we're almost halfway through. The next one, I think I've seen it before. It's not supposed to be great. I can't remember anything about it, so I do need to rewatch it. But it's Disney, and it's Jerry Bruckheimer. Mike Newell directed it, so it could be alright. It's Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. As you can see, co-starring Sir Ben Kingsley and the lovely Gemma Arterton. Some sort of fantasy film. Yeah, like I said, I possibly have seen this before. But it's been a long time if I have. So I can't really say what it's about or if it's any good. But I don't think I've heard the best things about it, but could be a lot of fun. Who knows? Next up, personal favourite of mine. Just an easy rom-com to watch, to stick on. Yeah, a lot of fun. It's Love and Other Drugs. This is set in the 90s. In this, basically, you follow Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who is a Viagra salesman in the 90s, who meets Anne Hathaway's character, who's very free-spirited, and they decide that they're going to have like a no strings attached type of affair, that's just sexual. But as much as they want to keep things casual, both of them end up falling in love with each other, as you would expect. And yeah, this was actually surprisingly funny as well. You got Josh Gad in this, who I believe plays Jake Gyllenhaal's roommate. There's a very funny scene with him in this. You got Oliver Platt, who's Jake Gyllenhaal's work colleague, Hank Azaria, who, if I remember rightly, plays one of the doctors he's trying to sell Viagra to. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an easy watch. If you like that sort of thing, then yeah, definitely recommend that one. That is Love and Other Drugs. Then next up is a very underrated sci-fi film, which I only watched for the first time last year. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'd recommend this to anyone that hasn't seen it. Go in blind like I did, and I think you'll get your socks blown off. That is Source Code, which is a Duncan Jones film, who's also directed Moon with Sam Rockwell, which I thoroughly enjoyed. He then followed this up with the very disappointing Warcraft adaptation in 2016. And then he went on to do Mute, which was a Netflix exclusive film, which I believe was Alexander Skarsgård and Paul Rudd, some sort of sci-fi film, but never bothered with that one. But I'd say, of all his films that I've seen, this is my favourite. And if you don't know, Duncan Jones is the son of the legend that is David Bowie. So a little bit of trivia for you there. This is a sci-fi film. It follows a I guess he was like a big captain in the army, and he's sent on a mission to try and identify a bomber who basically has destroyed a train hours earlier, and plans to kill thousands more people with a much bigger explosion right in the center of Chicago. So it follows this top secret program named Source Code, which basically allows Coulter, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, to exist as another person in the reality that is the doomed commuter train. So he basically goes back an hour or a few hours into someone else's body to try and work out who the bomber is. He's only got 8 minutes each time he goes back to try and find the bomber, but he just keeps going back in a loop until he finds out more. Very slowly time starts running out, and it's such a great film, so tense, so quick, fast paced. It's only about an hour and a half. Again, Jake Gyllenhaal is great in this film. You've got Jeffrey Wright in this as well, Vera Farmiga, Michelle Monaghan. Just such a fun little sci-fi flick. And again, if you've not seen this, I highly urge you to go and check it out, because I don't think you'll be disappointed, especially if you like the sound of how I described it. That is Source Code. Next up, another fairly recent watch from 2012. It's End of Watch, which is a David Ayer film co-starring Michael Pena, Anna Kendrick, and David Harbour. It basically follows these two patrol cops, played by Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. It's basically a day in their life of them on the streets, fighting crime as they do. But then one day, they end up stumbling across the wrong thing. They seize a massive amount of weapons, and they are then both marked for death by this big notorious drug cartel. They've then got basically this day when they're on the streets, got to try and survive basically, and it's a lot of fun, really well done. Again, I've said this in a lot of these films. Jake Gyllenhaal is absolutely excellent in this film. It's a nice easy watch again, not too long, just over an hour and a half. Flies by. If you like your cop type thriller with a bit of a difference, because there's a lot of body cam footage in this as well thrown in throughout. Again, another one I'd highly recommend checking out. That is End of Watch. Just checking the time. We're all good. Next up. Now, these next three, personally for me, or even four, are the best he's done in his career. Each one, for me, except for the last one, just his performance got better and better and better. And the third one I'm going to show you here is my favourite film he's done. I think his performance was perfect. He was snubbed of an Oscar nomination for this film. But the first film I'm going to talk about is his second collaboration with Denis Villeneuve. I've not got the first one, being Enemy, which I would love to get and give a watch. But of course, the film in question is Prisoners, also starring the brilliant Hugh Jackman. You've got Paul Dano, Viola Davis, Maria Bello, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, and it basically follows this father, played by Hugh Jackman. His young daughter is basically abducted one day when they're all having a family gathering off of the streets, and she's abducted with her best friend, who is, her parents are played by Viola Davis and Terrence Howard. Hugh Jackman takes it in his hands to find out where his daughter is, who kidnapped her, because he doesn't want the police he feels aren't doing their job properly and are wasting time. The investigation by the police is headed up by Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Detective Loki, who manages to arrest the person they think it is, but because they don't have enough evidence, they've got to release him. Because this obviously angers Hugh Jackman's character, he, as I said, takes matters into his own hands to find out the truth of what happened to his daughter and her friend. And it's just such a well-made film. It's quite long. It's almost, I think, 2.5 hours, but it flies by. The performances are great. It's one of my favourite Denis Villeneuve films. I think the only films I don't really get on by him are the Dune films. They're just not for me. But this is just a powerful drama, and with thriller elements thrown in there as well throughout. But some great central performances, especially from Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Paul Dano, who's brilliant in this film. Yeah, if you like your sort of missing girl type thing and the father taking it into his own hands, I'd recommend this one. If you've not seen it, won't be wasting your time, because it's just a really well made film. That is Prisoners. Next up, we have another one that I think is even better, topped that. It's a Tony Gilroy film, I think. No, Dan Gilroy. I get them mixed up because they're brothers, aren't they? And it is the excellent Nightcrawler. In this, Jake Gyllenhaal plays like a crime journalist, freelance crime journalist, that basically, what he primarily does is rushes to the scenes of accidents and crimes that he hears over the police scanners, to basically be the first there to get a scoop on like pictures of like what's happened at these accidents. But one day he decides he could make some real good money off of this, and starts to do things that slowly become even more morally wrong, and just goes down this massively dark path, and it's just excellent. You've got Rene Russo, who plays the head of this like television network that he sells his like photos to, who like kind of pushes him to bring in more, do more, find out more. We've got Riz Ahmed, who's kind of like his protege, I suppose, kind of following him, wants to be like him, sees himself as he could do this. And Bill Paxton, who does the same sort of thing, is like another crime scene journalist that tries to, basically competing to get the photos, the best photos at the accident scenes. And yet, might sound like not much, but trust me, this is an excellent crime thriller that just is so fast paced and just picks up and goes off the walls. Highly recommend this one. Just such a really brilliant performance from Jake Gyllenhaal as well in this one. Yeah, recommend that one, Nightcrawler. And as I said, this next one is my favourite film of his. Just such a emotional, brilliant performance he gives. And it's Antoine Fuqua's Southpaw, the boxing film. Oh, if you've not seen this, of all of these, do yourselves a favour, give this one a watch. It would be a shame to compare this to Rocky, because this is a completely different type of film to Rocky. The only thing they have similar is that it is a boxing film. It does say the best boxing movie since Raging Bull. It's the best boxing movie, period, in my opinion. It's just such a good story. Basically follows Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who is the heavyweight champion of the world. Has it all, has the best life going for him. One day, after this like sort of conference, and I think it's like a meal of some sort, if I remember rightly, he gets into it in a foyer with a competitor, I suppose. Gets quite physical, and a gun accidentally goes off. This isn't a spoiler, it's in the trailer, so anything I say, if it's in the trailer, I don't consider it to be a spoiler. If you think it's a spoiler, shut your ears off now and skip a little bit, because I will say what happens. Unfortunately, the bullet hits his wife, played by Rachel McAdams, who very shortly after passes away in his arms. He then kind of goes on a downward spiral, loses it all. He's got to try and look after his young daughter, but he's just a wreck. Can't really look after himself, yet alone his own daughter. Ends up wrapping his car around a lamppost. He's just a mess. So his daughter basically gets taken away with him and put into the childcare system, looked after by Naomi Harris's character, who is like the head of the foster agency, I suppose. He basically gets left behind completely by everyone that loved him before, his manager and friend, played by 50 Cent. And he literally hits rock bottom. And one day he goes to this gym run by Forrest Whitaker's character, who is basically retired and just trains boxers now, and helps him kind of on his journey of rehabilitation, getting himself to a better place, and basically helping him fight to win, to get his life back on track and get back to where he was, not just in his life but in the ring as well. And it's just a roller coaster of a film. It's so well done. As I said, absolutely, I don't know why, shunned by the Oscars and the awards that year, because it was so deserving of at least nominations, if not wins. I don't hear people talk about this one enough, but it should be watched if you've got it in your collection and have not seen it yet, or if it sounds like your type of thing. It's just such a great film. Yeah, that is Southpaw. And then next up we have one of the best looking 4Ks I think I've got in my collection. Can't wait to get an OLED at some point, because I'm sure it's going to look even better on one of those. Again, 2015. Who directed this one? Balthazar Koromacue, I think you pronounce his name. It's Everest. It's just such a stunning film, but such a tragic story in real life. It's about these mountaineers, one of which is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who lead these expeditions up to the top of Everest in the 90s, I believe. And it's just about the dangers of nature and how nature's fighting against them whilst they're trying to get to the top. And as I said, tragedy strikes along these expeditions, and it's heartbreaking. It's just a tragic story, like I said. But a must watch if you like these sorts of films. I know Roy watched this recently, the 4K, and he agreed with me, said the 4K looked stunning, and it's a great film. I mean, what a cast you got here. You got Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, John Hawkes, Robin Wright, Sam Worthington, Keira Knightley, Emily Watson, Jake Gyllenhaal. You got a very young Mia Goth in this as well, pops up. You got Michael Kelly, who's always great seeing in these sorts of films. Just such a great cast, such a good drama. Check this out if you've not seen it. That is Everest. Next up's one I have a feeling I've seen before, but it's in the rewatch pile because I can't remember a bloody thing about it. It's Tom Ford's Nocturnal Animals, starring Amy Adams and Jake Gyllenhaal. I think this is about a woman living in an unfulfilling marriage, receives a package containing a novel manuscript from her ex-husband, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And the novel is dedicated to her, but its contents are very violent and devastating. She cannot help to reminisce over her past love story with the author, her ex-husband. And then as she carries on with the book, she starts to interpret it as like revenge. And yeah, that's all I really know. You've got Aaron Taylor-Johnson in here, Michael Shannon, Isla Fisher. Give this one another rewatch soon, because I remember liking bits of it from what I can remember. That is Nocturnal Animals. Next up, the last of the ones I haven't seen, but I've heard this is a very underrated sci-fi film from 2017. It's called Life, and it co-stars Ryan Reynolds, who's here's not in it for very long. Rebecca Ferguson, Hiroyuki Sanada, who's always great. And yeah, it's a sci-fi film. Set on the International Space Station. They find a new form of life that caused extinction on Mars and now threatens the crew and all life on Earth. And that's all I know. Not too long. Yeah, I'll give this a watch one day, because I've heard really good things about this. Heard it's pretty underrated. So yeah, that is Life. Then next up, another really great true story from 2017. Directed by David Gordon Green, we have Stronger, based on true story about a man who was just your everyday type of man, went to support his girlfriend one day in the 2013 Boston Marathon, which unfortunately was bombed, and he ended up losing both of his legs, and it's his story of rehabilitation, yeah, not just in his body, but mentally coming back, just trying to get to a better place. You got Tatiana Maslany, who plays his girlfriend in this. Miranda Richardson, who's brilliant in this, plays his mum. You got Clancy Brown, who memory serves me right, plays his dad. And yeah, just a really solid, underrated, smaller scale biopic, I would say, about a story that you probably aren't too familiar with. Most people probably know about the Boston Marathon bombing, but not about this man's story and what he went through. So, yep, urge you to check this one out if you've not seen it. That is Stronger. Next up, we have his turn in the MCU, which was, of course, Spider-Man Far From Home. I think this is my favourite of the three Tom Holland Spider-Man films. There's a lot going for this one. It's like a world type of film, goes across the world. They're basically on a school trip, and Peter Parker meets Mysterio, who basically decides to join forces with him to fight off these big elemental creatures that are just attacking these big cities, like Venice. There's a massive attack in Venice. Whilst he's on this trip around in Europe, and he gets the help from Nick Fury. If you know the MCU, you know the ultimate what that is all about. But yeah, it's just a really good Spider-Man film, I think. Like I said, I think of the three we've got from Tom Holland, this is the best one. Jake Gyllenhaal is brilliant as Mysterio, and yep, of the post-Endgame films, obviously this was the first one coming off of the back of Endgame. I think this is one of the stronger ones in my opinion, and No Way Home as well. But yep, if you've not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, I would definitely recommend watching that one. And then finally, but by no means least, we have from 2022, Michael Bay's Ambulance. Also starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Isa Gonzalez. All about these two adoptive brothers, played by Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul. And they basically are career criminals. Will, played by Yahya, wants to go straight life, look after his family, doesn't want to get involved in any criminal sort of stuff anymore. But his brother wants him for one last job to rob this bank. Basically says you can have, it will set you for life, set your kid up for life. So he agrees to do it, but it goes horribly wrong. They end up hijacking an ambulance, and its driver, played by Isa Gonzalez. And it's then from there it kind of goes into like a speed type film. Lots of explosions, as you would expect from Michael Bay, but there's a lot of heart to this film. The relationship between these two brothers, what they go through, the flashbacks to when they were kids. How they kind of have grown apart over the years because of their differences in their ideals. Really good film. It's one that was very divisive when it came out, but I loved it. I think it's one of Michael Bay's best films in years. Yeah, lots of action in it. Good story. Recommend if you've not seen it. That is Ambulance. And that is it. That is all of the films that I own in my Jake Gyllenhaal collection. Let me know your thoughts on any of the ones I've shown down below, or let me know if any of those now interest you after seeing this video. Yeah, put down in the comment section below. Are there any that I'm missing that you think I should add to the collection? I know, like I said, there's a few that I'd like to get a hold of that I've just not got around to picking up yet, like Enemy, October Sky, Lovely and Amazing, Bubble Boy. Those are just a few off the top of my head. But yeah, that is it for this video. Almost 40 minutes now, so I'm going to end it there. If you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Turn your notification bell on so you know when I have a new video uploaded to the channel. Comment down below anything and everything. As you know, I always take the time to get back to anyone that leaves me a comment because I really do appreciate it. And that is it. So until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye.